It is pivot week. The question is it pivot week for the Fed or pivot week for the markets or potentially both? So what do we have right here? Right now we have, let's take a look at the markets. The Dow is down 0.7, 237 points. S&P is down 1.15%. The NASDAQ down 1.77%, almost 2%, down 200 points. And all eyes are on the Fed this week, waiting for that rate decision. Looks like 25 basis points is mostly in the cards. The Fed does not like to shock the markets. So expectations are 25 basis points right now. In more news, Ford and GM enter a new phase of uncertainty on prices and demand as Ford cuts prices on electric Mustang Mach-E following Tesla's lead. So hopefully we'll start to get some auto manufacturer and dealer price wars going on to kind of help ease the burden on new car prices on the consumer and bring prices down a little bit. The Federal Reserve is likely to hike interest rates again, which is going to put a little bit more pressure on the consumer for consumer credit cards and auto loans and things like that. And that's the big issue that the Fed is still facing is, inflation is still way too high. Gas is up lately. I don't know if the Fed will talk about gas and food, which those prices are up. Housing costs have still not come down enough in terms of the cost of ownership, cost of rent, things like that. The only thing from an inflationary standpoint that's really eased was fuel prices for the most part. A little bit of rent declines in some markets, but for the most part, almost no real inflationary pressures have eased, and the Fed is assessing the risk of a double top inflation, double peak inflation, and they don't want that to happen. So they're going to come out. Financial conditions have eased considerably, which is not helping inflation. Labor market is still extremely tight and keeping pressure on prices. So the Fed is going to come out strong against these financial conditions that we're seeing right now, the market rally, easing of financial conditions as we see the Dow kind of working its little range here. NASDAQ, same thing, still above the trend, S&P. So it'll be interesting to see this week if we get down to test these trend lines and if that will hold and if prices kind of work their way on this trend line to find support or if they lose it and break resistance. The big thing that everybody's watching, and of course, some people are talking about the Fed actually stopping, pivoting, or signaling a pivot. The Fed is going to come out strong against the market and say, we are not done. Don't know what you're looking at. We're going to be higher for longer and kind of talk the markets down. So we might see a big unwinding like we did last time. Here's Bitcoin reversing this peak right here, had a little double top here and kind of unwinding this momentum that we've seen here. We'll take a look at a couple of other things, but I wanted to show you the VIX. We've been talking about the VIX when it hit that 18 and bounced, reversed. The last time it moved all the way up to 21 and then rolled over. So this time it could be a scenario like this where we get a big move in the market, and that was that August move. A little bit here in December, but that big August move, the big April move, those were the big lows in the markets. October, of course, was our last low, right around this area here when the VIX was running a little bit low. Dixie is rebounding a little bit. 10-year rejecting on this trend right here of this formation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the 10-year and with Dixie, as Dixie is finding support at this critical level here. Don't know if you'll see it break much lower than that, but it could. So we'll keep an eye on that. And of course, oil kind of ranging and trending along. So let's take a look at Bitcoin here and a couple of things. Obviously on the daily, still well above all moving averages. But here's the big thing that I'm watching on Bitcoin right here is the weekly. And we talked about this the other day, that if Bitcoin rejects here, we're getting this death cross here on the weekly, that would not be a good sign for Bitcoin. Last time it rejected on the 200 was back here in August. And then that's when we dropped all the way back down to that 15,000. And, we could definitely see a retracement, just normal retracement of this rejection to 18. But if conditions and the Fed come out, strong enough, this could drop all the way back to this range low, continue to consolidate, put a base in here and run from there. So let's take a look at the last couple of times that Bitcoin rejected on this level. That really hasn't. It's found support on that level pretty much in all of its history going back. We haven't seen that. But let's look at the 50-day. So what's happened when Bitcoin rides below the 50-day and rejects? We had that big drop here. initially back in March. That was quite a big drop. Let's go ahead and measure that. I don't think we're looking at that right this minute. That was 62%. Of course, the rejection on the 200 was let's see what percentage that wound up being. That was about a 37% drop. And of course, we talked about that right here. If this is a typical rejection from here, 37% puts you back down around, around the lows, around 14, 15,000. So it could potentially get a rejection on the lows like that. When was the last time we saw a rejection on the 50-week right here in COVID? But that was a different situation, but still rejected the 50-week moving average, dropped. And back in 2019, lost the 50-week here. That was ultimately the biggest drop right there, going down about 59%. And then when you go all the way back to the beginning, back in 2014, after that first initial big bull run, when these averages finally caught up, you had a rejection on the 50-week here, and that rejection was 48%. Your next rejection was the 100. That was a 55% drop. Next rejection on the 50-week, right? This could kind of be sort of what you're looking at here. If you want to compare something, this is kind of similar type of price action we're looking at, where it rejected here and then ultimately dropped to a low on that rejection of 46%. So this kind of looks real similar to what's happening right now. If you look at the price action, kind of up and down, putting that little base rise up. And again, if it drops 46, 47% from the rejection, let's take a look at that. What does that put Bitcoin at? That's right down in that. Like I said, that's about 13, 14,000 if it rejected that much from there. So not saying it will do that, not saying it won't do that. That just is what the potential on the table looks like. Here's Bitcoin on the daily. We take it on the hourly. You can see basically a trend here. The thing is that this really isn't much of a consolidation here, somewhat of a distribution a little bit, then a drop, maybe a little consolidation here, pop up to a profit level, drop back down, build a base, and just kind of wait this thing out and see what happens with the Fed and the economy with recession concerns and stuff like that. But messaging from the Fed is expected to be higher for longer, 25 basis point rate hike, but to really signal and warn the markets that financial conditions have eased too much, the Fed cannot back off. They don't want to risk double top inflation. Prices are still too high. Fuel prices are increasing. Food prices are up. So there's still a lot of pressure out there from an inflation standpoint that the Fed has to battle in order for things to, settle down from their standpoint to where they can talk about potentially stopping rate hikes and potentially backing up. They're going to continue to hike rates through the end of the year. They're going to get to their terminal level that they're looking at of that 5.25, somewhere around there. The markets don't believe the Fed, so it's that back and forth right now. I think the Feds are going to talk sense into the market this week. We'll see a little bit of a sell-off. Things can range and bottom out, and then we can start talking about where things go from there from a recessionary standpoint. A lot of geopolitical risks heating up around the world, so the markets are paying attention to a lot of different things. So these are the things I'm looking at. If you're new to the channel, comments are off because of all the scams and fake accounts and things like that. They're really bad on all the platforms. Even Facebook now is getting really bad with them. So I don't want anybody to get caught up in that. And this channel is all about entrepreneurship, real estate investing and development, leadership, mindset, everything that I've done in my entire career for 30 years of being a serial entrepreneur, buying companies, scaling companies, developing real estate, buying and selling real estate, investing in stocks and cryptos, things like that. So these are the things that we talk about on this channel. This is what I'm looking at. I'll see you in the next video.